having bipolar disorder is really scary. And it feels like this secret, in that if people find out about it, they might not like you anymore, and they might not love you. And it's very scary to let people know that you have bipolar disorder because of the connotations and the stigma around it. So I grew up in Saudi Arabia. I moved there when I was a young child, and through that experience, I got the opportunity to interact with a lot of military members in general. And I was, I guess, a part of a compound that had a lot of expats and foreign nationals that were working there, and the community that was built there was very publicly oriented. Like, everyone worked together to solve problems. So that really instilled in me a sense of service and a sense of strong community. I didn't want to go to college. I was going to just join the military straight out of high school. My parents were vehemently against that. So I ended up applying for the U.S. Air Force Academy, where I was a Division I cross-country and track athlete. And I was the worst guy on the team. By the end, I was the middle worst guy. So I became a varsity member, but just by the hair of my chin kind of thing. So right now, how I kind of earn my living is I'm a full-time student. But before that, I was in the military for about 9.5 years. So I'm kind of transitioning into a new career. This summer, I'm kind of doing what I think is going to be a cool fellowship, which is I'll work with the U.S. Olympic Committee in strategic and business consulting. So I was first diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2020, in August, literally the day after my son was born. I had been going through a lot of issues, personally, with respect to mood imbalances. It was impacting my work, and it was just affecting my personal life as well. But I really pushed it away for a long time. So I would say the first time I was affected by my bipolar disorder was probably for a lot longer than when I was initially diagnosed. I hid it for a long time. I didn't want to address it because I was really, really worried that A, I wouldn't be able to continue my job, and then B, that I thought people would think less of me. But what ended up happening is, after several suicide attempts and sitting on my last deployment, harboring sleeping pills, considering what that last attempt would be, my ex now wife called me and had FaceTime with the kids, and I was like, I gotta do something. I gotta figure this out. And I got back from the deployment. My son was born, and the next day I saw a psychiatrist, and I started the journey of treatment. I guess it would have been August 31st. There are portions of my life where I am depressed, and I think that's the easier one for people to understand. I'm lethargic. I don't have a lot of motivation to do things, and normal life things become very, very hard. And both from from an accomplishment standpoint, but also just a desire standpoint. Your desire to engage in the world with people starts to drop dramatically, and you start to isolate. I start to isolate, and I start to attempt to distance myself from friends and family. For my expression of what my mania looks like is I'm actually hyperproductive. I can talk to anybody. I love to be out and about. I have extremely creative ideas. And unfortunately, sometimes it feels like the highest expression and form of myself. And everything else that's not that feels like the loss of myself. So some of the triggers into going to hypomania are lack of sleep, right? And once you go into mania or hypomania, you have the ability to not need sleep, and you have increased productivity, increased brain function, all that other stuff. So imagine when you're doing stress inoculation training, and the point of the training is to take you sleep away from you and see how you perform under stress. Well, basically what that would do for me is I would trip into a hypomania state, which would allow me to perform really well. So I did great, and that was one of my fears when I started going through treatment. Was I was never gonna be me again, and I was never gonna be able to tap into that. And I haven't found that to be true, And I will say that like there are moments in my life over the course of like the last 2 years of being treated that like I've reconciled it, no problem. I'm totally good. I'm like, yeah, this is me, and I have bipolar disorder, and I'm fine. And that hypomania that was a piece of the illness, and it yielded all these detrimental things that harmed my interpersonal relationships as much as it helped it, you know. And there was a fall in the backside of those things. So there's an attempt to glorify or over index on how good the mania was, and there's times like that was not good for me. And now I've strung together 3 to 4 months of positive, like hyper, like sustainable, just normal range of emotions. Like this is me, because hypomania was an expression and a dumping of chemicals that wasn't really me, and I'm good with it. So when I started seeking treatment, I guess like I started having to be asked to explore a couple different modalities. Some of those are like, cognitive behavioral therapy, talking with like a therapist or a mental health provider, licensed clinical social worker, psychologist. And as I navigated that, like I found that like it was more important about the connection with the person than the credentials. That provided a lot of help for me to process just the transition and then the underlying trauma that potentially kind of supports the illness. The other modality is medication, and that is the one that I think was the hardest for me to get over and become okay with, because I think it was this acknowledgement that I was broken, I was wrong, and I need to be given something to fix it. I'm responsible for my emotions and how they interact with other people. Because they're negative to them and to me, I need medication to go on that. And I guess the best advice that I was given, because I needed to be coached into it, I could sit here and tell you that like, yeah, I saw medication as the answer because I recognized and I did my research. I didn't. I vehemently didn't want to be on medication. I thought pretty narcissistically that, probably manically, that I didn't need it. I was better. Like that's for somebody that needs it. That's not for me. I'm smart. Like I'm capable. I have done things in this world that 0.01% of the population can do. I free fall at night with 20 of the baddest people on the earth. And fly my parachute and my equipment down to go fight for American interests in foreign wars. And now I need medication to like control my emotions. Like when I've been stoic my entire career, the feeling is I'm going to take medication and then I'll be okay with taking medication. I consistently have to remind myself that I am using medication as a platform to succeed, not taking medication to fix something that is wrong with me. So the things that have helped me outside of medication that have probably been the underpinnings of my ability to be successful and at times when I'm doing well is routine. Routine and physical exertion for me are the two things that help me better than anything. The routine helps predictability and helps give me a framework to understand and provide context to my emotions. So when I'm thinking, where am I at in my cycle? Am I having issues with my emotions, my mood, stability, etc.? I have like a very good baseline foundation of where I'm at because I have a routine. The other piece of that is working out, some type of physical activity, walking outside, any of those things provide an outlet for me to, I guess, just feel strong or feel capable. And I think linking it to I think a lot of times people say, oh, you work out to release stress. It does relieve stress for me too, but bipolar disorder for me was a very weakening position. I felt very weak and I felt like everyone wanted to take care of me. And I was not used to be taken care of. And in fact, I love taking care of other people. So like during the diagnosis and during my treatment, I felt like a weak person. And working out was a way for me to feel strong and have ownership over my body and the ability to express myself from a position of strength was really, really good for me. So I spent a lot of time and energy learning how to cover and learning how to pretend like nothing was happening and figuring out how to not tell people. I have found that when I let people know, the response is not what I expect. I expected, and I not anymore, but I expected people to be wary, kind of like wary of who I was. And if anything, it was a non-factor for them. They were just kind of like, okay. And I was like, wait, I thought about this for 3 months, and they're like, yeah, it's fine. And and then I realized, I started reframing it, and I realized by telling people, what I could do is actually support them, because a lot of people have issues in their family or with themselves that they're not ready or willing to address. And by telling them like, hey, I have bipolar disorder, this is what I'm going through, and saying it from a position of strength, it really gave them a platform to open up to me about what was going on in their life. And then I got to support them. And those are the moments where I'm like, yeah, I am conquering this. I am beating this because I'm owning it. And before I was saying I have bipolar disorder. And just a little bit of a shoulder back, chest up, and looking at someone directly in the eye and saying, I have bipolar disorder. Do you want to go grab food? And making it a non-issue, or like, do you have something going on? Can I take care of you? Like, and saying it from a position of strength opens up a whole world of possibilities. And I've helped more people by owning it than I thought I would. And I wish someone would have done that for me. And I think everyone has their own timeline of when they're comfortable doing it. But the more I talk about it, the less impactful it seems. A year and a half ago, I could not have done this. When I was in an intensive, so I went through a couple different processes. I went through psychologist, and I got medication, right? That was really scary. I take the medication. I immediately hit a down cycle just because that starts setting in motion certain things, right? And then I get recommended to an intensive outpatient program. Like, here's where my psyche was at the time. I saw what the staff was wearing from like a dress code perspective, and I would dress like them because I was so nervous to be associated with being a patient that I psychologically wanted to distance myself from having a mental health illness or issue, disorder, whatever. So when I talk about like, when you hear me talk about like, yeah, from a position of strength, it took time to get here. And I don't know if it's forever, but it's where I'm at right now. So I would say, like, if you're feeling nervous about it, you should, but it's okay. You're gonna be fine. I hope that no one else has to go through what I'm going through. My kids, their friends, and then anyone else. Like, I hope that this becomes a non-issue at some point, and we talk about it like it was something that used to exist. I hope that I can help people become comfortable in their journey, and I hope that I can become comfortable in letting other people help me in my journey. And I hope to one day envisioning myself being an older person, because sometimes when you go through cycles, and right now being in a depressive cycle, I have a hard time seeing myself past the age of 40. And I hope that goes away. What I have found is it does. I just gotta wait, and I gotta get back on my routine, and I gotta be diligent about using my medication as a platform. I got to stop ignoring not going to psychotherapy and working with behavioral health professionals. And those hopes can become a reality. Maybe not all of them, but the last one I think can, and it has been in the past. So I would say I also hope that People that feel that way, just hold on a little longer, man. Because the cool thing about bipolar disorder is it's a cycle, and you'll come out of it.